So we're going to piece it together, aren't we? We've got to the point where we understand the principles we need to go through. It's time to start to look practically at what actually goes on behind the scenes when we start to put this all together. Hi, my name's Ross, creator and founder of Geordie Consulting and Geordie Intelligence, the YouTube channel you're watching right now. We've gone through, haven't we? We've understood the principles behind the New York Water Towers dataset. How we take their raw data from their website that's publicly published, we bring it into a data flow. Within that data flow, we are combining that with the Excel spreadsheet that we've got that deals with the lookup values and tries to normalize the values that we've got for the various hand-typed and mistaken, or whatever we want to call it, text that you will find in every ERP system that I've encountered globally. We've got that way then of normalizing that data. So that replicates the spreadsheet that every company has that says, right, these 5 customers are actually the same one, or whatever else they've got, how many it is, or how many of those they've got to have. But you always find there's some lookup you've got to have. We've built this now so it actually all works dynamically within the single platform. That then is going to produce a raw set of data that we can then move on from. So we should have a look at the data flow build that we've gone and also have a look at this spreadsheet. Okay, and then we'll also go through next week and probably rebuild the whole thing from scratch and do a very technical stage-by-stage build, because I think that's one of the things that you guys are going to want to see. But I thought we can kind of have a look at what we've got going on first and see if you can make sense of it. Yeah. So I built a nice simple deck just to explain kind of what's going on within the area so we can see. So the overview of what we're looking to do is to take from an automated process, bring through and ingest everything, cleanse it all, and then have a structured output. That is the purpose of what you really want. And what I'll do is I'll put this deck into a PDF and I'll put it up into our GitHub and you can download it. There's a link down below if you want to. So to do that, we need to combine data sources. So we've got our primary data source, which is going to be the New York Water Towers raw data set that we put a link to in last week's video. We'll put another link to it in this week's video as well. So we've got that. And then we've got this lookup table, this mythical lookup table that we've talked about. We'll have a look at it today, as I say, because I think it's important. We'll have a look at it today, break down what's going on in it, because it's really important that you understand. And then we might even build it as well. Okay, build a new one. What we've got though is we've got that, and then we're bringing it together, and that gives us something that we can then start to talk about having a level of data governance with for it. Okay, and the core transformations we've got really are to use the CSV structure to bring out the data types, to put it all together, restructure dates, clean everything out, and just do the normal stuff. There's nothing fancy going on with it. That's one of the things why I love this data set. We've got a lot going on here. The outputs that we've got from the data flow are 2 tables. We've got the building table, which is where we've taken all the unique geographical information that relates to the building in terms of where it is, what its number is, its address, all that information, and placed that in one table. Okay, so we've got that. They have what's called a BIN, building identification number. And we use that then as the key, which gives us this primary key for, this foreign key for the clean fact table that we're going to build of the inspections. And the inspections, as I say, there's a lot of data in the inspections because all the 14 points of the inspection have to be in there and inspected. And what's the best way to present that? That's really one of the things we need to discuss for this as we get to the build of the semantic table, the semantic model for here, is what should that look like? Because it's not clear cut to just say, well, we've done it this way, we've done it that way. There's a way I've chosen for the second generation of this report. And this might not be optimal. This is one of those things where, and this is a reality of doing Power BI development, is that solution that worked for one client or for one model might not be the right solution for the next one you encounter. And that's something we need to accept, acknowledge, and be ready for. So we've got that. So we've got those two tables that are going to come out. There's not much else that goes on there. And then from there, of course, we can then build a perfect star schema, which is going to benefit our Power BI model, okay? So here we go, okay? The Power BI service. What does things look like in the Power BI service? This is the big bit, isn't it? So what we have, let's go and let's find the right workspace for starters. Okay, so in the Dataflow workspace for New York Water Towers, we have this Dataflow, okay? And this Dataflow has 3 inputs, as you can see, 3. Technically there's only 2. Okay, but because they're 2 different tables from the same spreadsheet, it classes them as separate ones. Okay, we could have built it where we were pulling for one Excel spreadsheet and then splitting it within the. Don't waste your time going down that route. We've got these. Okay, typically anyway, we do not want to read through raw spreadsheets. Raw spreadsheets are always a problem because you have to locate them and place them somewhere, and we'll see. So these ones, we've got these coming through from our SharePoint site, which is fine, but that might not be ideal. Okay, and we've got this one, the raw CSV file is coming from New York City. Okay, so you've got kind of these are where we're doing, right? This is the reality. For you, in the practical terms of this, you'd probably be more like the, you need to have a raw database connection. So you're going to connect to a database and get everything from it. If you're going down the files route, we'd say connect to a folder and read the content of the folder is a better way to go, and that will process multiple things. In terms of scale, what can that cope with? Look at our Park Run data set, okay? There's 20,000 files that are going in to build those things, and it's quite happy to churn through them. It's reasonably responsive. It doesn't take a huge amount of time to do. What have we got here? Okay, we've got these 3 here, and these then come through into this data flow. And what we can do if we look in the data flow, let's open it up. So we can see there's 2 tables of data here. So if we click here, why is this not opening? Edit. Yeah, you just get there. Okay, we can see the schema that we've got for those 2 tables. So we can see all the information. You can see all these strings here. This is the inspection information. Now this is the facts table, the inspection table, which we always say needs to be punchy table. This is not punchy. Got lots of strings here. This is bad, which is why, as I say, we took it out, we put it somewhere else to rationalize it. We could have done that all in here and have it all come out of here. That might be a better way to go because it would be more efficient on the model. What you might do in practice, because of what you're doing with your organization like this, is you might say, well, we want to keep the old and want to build the new. That's a possibility, and we might do that next week. But it's important for you to see what's happening here. Let's go and edit the table. Okay. I'm going to close that because I still am not convinced by Dataflow Gen 2 as yet. An inspection algorithm that requires you to be on Fabric for something which isn't really much better than the core out of the box one, technically, in terms of the capabilities of it, isn't really an addition, is it? Not an improvement, not a Gen 2. It's like a reloaded off to the side, and we all know how those reloadeds work, don't we, people? Anyway, what we have is we have here, okay? So the 2 spreadsheet tables are coming through as this inspected by and tested by. We can see here lab, we've got a load here. We've got the lab table and then the actual tested by that we're going to use. Likewise for the inspected by firm and what it's going to be replaced by. And then rows, this is the raw information that comes from New York City. And we can see here, this is one of those nice things that I do like about Power BI is it has all these applied steps. Tell you what, let me get rid of my face from here. Okay, got all these applied steps. And this is useful because it allows you to go through and track each and every step of the way to what goes on. Now, within the Power BI platform, what we can do in, well, you can do this in Excel side of Power Query as well, wherever it is, you can actually go back through the recipe, as it were. And this is something that I need you to understand. Okay, your Power Query steps is like a recipe. So we start at the beginning, the source, where it says, right, this is our raw CSV file that we downloaded from New York City. We can then say, well, we're going to promote the headers. So we're going to take that first row and make those the headers. So we can click on it and we can see, I see this happen. We're going to change types, which is basically saying, well, we're going to change everything. So everything's text at the moment, which is the default. And it's going to put in this best guess for the data types for them all. And then we start doing further transformations. These are then the ones that I've put in to transform the data. So the first thing we're going to do is split the columns by delimiter. And this is the inspection date, 21231. And this is because this has US date format. Now I've done this in a way where we split it and then we combine it. Now in theory, you can convert the dates. You can use the date format options. That potentially works better for it. This will definitely work. It's up to you to try it. And we might try doing it if we rebuild this from scratch, which we, again, as I say, I keep saying it, we probably are going to rebuild this from scratch, go through and watch what happens for it. We convert them all to text. We can actually go, let's go across to where those are. Those will be at the far end. Here we go. So we've converted them all to text here. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And then we've created a custom column, called inspection date, where we've basically rebuilt a date from there. Okay, date from text. Again, potentially we could have used, instead of that, you use a date type to bring it through. This is just push this into a definite UK or non-US date format, shall we say. Okay, again, there's options available to you with how you handle these. Change to a date, then we're going to do the same for the batch date, exactly the same. And then finally, we've just removed those helper columns that were just involved in building the text string for it. And that then gives us, this is a nice starting point. And this is something I do a lot. We've done these steps, this is our starting point. And then I will start new tables referencing that back. Okay, now one thing you have to understand at this point, we have to understand, right? Doing this, one thing you need to understand is when you do these sorts, this sort of thing, yeah? So when you build like a rows temp table, as it were, okay, for your other things, it will affect, yeah. You're not building a staging table. It doesn't recognize that as something which is now a built entity that can then be referenced in the future. When you reference it, you're prefixing the query steps of that table with these ones. It's not picking up a built entity. Okay, so it still has to be done each time for each thing that will go through it. But it gives you a standardized point. So if in the future we need to make changes to anything, we make changes in rows. And that's the only place we need to make the change that's going to affect buildings and inspections. We cannot, though, do it or consider that a function in its own right that will run and then buildings and inspections are reading a built table from it. That's the weakness that you get with data flows. This is where if you are using PPU, if you are using Fabric, you can actually use a data flow as a source for another data flow. And you can then use the likes of Power Automate to trigger the refresh of the second data flow based on the first one. So we could, in theory, put this rows build into one data flow, doing initial ingestion, and that would build a table. And then we could have a second data flow that was building buildings and inspections based on the content or the output of the first data flow. That would work. Be stupid to do in this context, in this case, but it would work. So if you find you've got massive data sets to do, big tables to do, and you've got to process something down, and you think, well, this is really slow, you may find, do the big piece in one, and then have a second one that will read from the first one as a completed table. Because there is no way that you can shortcut things within data flows and the way that the M script language works. Okay, it's important to understand that. Yes, you can, for those of you, well, what about table buffer? Table buffer, buffer table, table.buffer will allow you to take the content of the query at that point into memory. Okay, and at that point it will say, right, I've now brought this into memory. That transition into memory is not quick. Okay, it is definitely not a quick thing to do. So if you've got large tables you need to do it with, you're wasting your time. Okay, it's a nice idea. The practical side of it in real world, big data world, is it slows things down an awful lot. So if you can bring it through into one as a staging and then have those going through into others, that will work for you. If you don't, if you just got Pro, you can use that, and then we would have to put buildings and inspections to actually take place within the PBIX model itself, where we actually have a second chance to do some more processing. So there's workarounds, there's ways around it, but you need to be aware of what's going on and where at each step of your ETL journey. And this is something that is vitally important, and I think we need to be aware, we have to get our heads around it. So I apologize if you feel I've spent too long on that. Anyway, so we've got that. Okay, then we've got buildings, where we actually take that. You can see we've now got the primary key of bin, bin, and all we're really doing is we're removing the excess columns and then removing the duplicates. So what we're saying is we're going to remove all the columns that relate to, we're going to keep, because we're removing other columns, aren't we? So we're going to keep, just going to keep the columns that relate specifically to the building. So it's lot, where it is, lat long, all that sort of stuff. We're just going to keep those columns. All the rest we don't care about. And then what we're going to do is remove the duplicates, because what we've got is those are for each inspection that's gone on. And potentially there's multiple tanks even in each building. So we're going to do all that and then we're going to squish it back down. That's a really efficient way of just processing that. In theory, if you want to do it a different way, you might be able to do it. We could have done like a group by, couldn't we? We could have used those columns in advanced group by and then group by those, then added, say, a count rows of it as the final, just to make a group by work. Either one will do. In terms of efficiency wise, remove other columns and remove duplicates, I'd be hard pushed off the top of my head to say which one would be more efficient. I'm tempted to say this way we've done it is more efficient than a group by. I think it would depend on how many columns you had in a group by versus we've got these now, remove the duplicates. Just because of the way they're processing. So I think with where we've got with that many columns, probably this way is quicker. If we only had one or two columns, we may find a group by is quicker. You could experiment with either and test it and see. This way, as I say, I'm going to say I think this was probably the quicker way of doing it. Famous last words. And obviously in the inspection side, what are we doing? See, we're doing a lot more in here. And the lot more is because what we need to do is do these merged queries. Okay, so what we're doing is we're removing the columns that relate to buildings. Okay, and in theory, we could have pulled through. There's functions you can do to pull these through and then do it. again, if you were trying to use the columns that are part of buildings in here, you would have problems because buildings doesn't exist at this point to do. It would, yeah, so you end up having to kind of keep two lists. You could, in theory, yes, have a parameter list that is, this is the columns that we want to keep in one. So remove others and remove from the other. So you've definitely got a compared list. You might be overthinking it, but that's an option for you. What we're going to do then is we're going to take lowercase for the inspection by firm and lowercase for the lab name. So we just lowercase them, just lowercase. And the only reason for doing lowercase is because what I wanted to do is make that join efficient. And that efficiency, so we're going to add an index to it, okay? And then here we've merged these through. Okay, so we'll look at the inspected by firm for this. So we've merged inspected by firm, and inspected by. So let's have a look at inspected by, because I think that's important. So we'll have a look at inspected by. You can see what we've done for the inspected by is we've pulled it through and we've just lowercased those. In theory, we do not need to lowercase them because the way they've come through into the inspected by is based on the case. I've put this in, I was having some issues with it, so I've put it in. Is it right or wrong or problematic? I don't know. The reason for this was I wanted to make sure that we had something that was working effectively with this, and this works. But yeah, if you're having problems or struggling, you know, we could revisit this lowercase text. We might revisit it as well. So what we've got is we've got this, and then we've normalized these within the spreadsheet. So here we can see we've got unknown for these. We've got this 230 owners LLC, so we're guessing that's the owner. Like 598 Broadway Realty Association Inc., 598 Broadway Realty Associates Inc. So we said these are all owner. So these three would be the same thing, wouldn't they? And this is the owner, isn't it, who's done the inspection. So we're saying an owner. Come down here, we've got this AC Clem Heating. Again, this is why we need to normalize the data. These aren't different firms, but because of case sensitivity, these are all lowercase, but because of the way these are, if we go back to pre-lowercase, you can see what these are. So there's some variation in them, but it allows you to piece together roughly what we're going to expect. And then we're bringing it together into something that's standardized so it works repeatably across the piece. So we can then see, well, what has AC Clem Plumbing and Heating inspected across New York? Which is really what you want to do, because then you could start to say, for me as an owner, who should I be using? Who are my neighbors using to do their inspections? Are they available? And actually then piece together what a fee structure would look like for me. So I can actually do that, ring around and say, oh, how much would it be? This is where data needs to land. But when it's all a mix and difficult, that's awkward, to say the least, okay? So you can see we've pieced all these together. We've tried to bring together all the variations, all the little variants here. So we've got and versus ampersand, all these things that we've got in here, pieced together to normalize to a single entity for it. And that's then what we're doing as we come through these two merge queries. One is doing that for the inspected by, and the second one is doing that for the lab. And then we're expanding those out to bring through the proper one. We're removing duplicates based on the index, which is, that's because if you remember, we added the index number, because a duplicate would mean that we've actually ended, we had multiple matches. So we're going to remove those. So we've only got the top one. Okay? It's just in case there's anything come through that matches more than once. And then we're going to remove that index column. And lastly, we're going to remove blanks. Okay? Or renamed blanks. Yes. Okay? So we've pieced that together, and then we've actually got something that works. We should, in theory, get rid of the inspected by. Yeah, let me zoom back out again. So we should probably get rid of inspected by and tested by, the original ones. We've left them in because this is still, if we think through to our medallion architecture, this is fundamentally going to be our silver layer. Okay, this is our bronze and silver. This is what your data flows are. This here, this raw source step, the beginning step, that's your bronze. By definition, that is the bronze layer. This is our raw extract. And then we are doing transformations against it. Okay, we could quite literally bring through just a single data flow that just has that one step, that source step, and that's then would be our true bronze. Okay, this is where you have to be a little bit understanding about how medallion architecture maps into these data flows. So we piece that together. Okay, and that then, here it goes. We can do that. This outputs then two tables. So we cancel that out and see. Here are our two tables of data. Perfect. Okay, and that's been running for as long as I can remember. Okay, so it runs. So here we are in the lookup spreadsheet, okay? And the point of this was always to piece together the values that we've got coming in from our various sources and normalize them into something. So we've got the lab that we used for the tested by, so the lab name, this is what it is in the system versus the tested by, and this is what we've normalized those values back to. Okay, and we do the same with the inspected by, exactly the same. Now, this is great because this is all linked through. So what we can do is we can hit refresh all. And I've deliberately done this because this is going to error, which is what I wanted, because this was where we were having the issue before. And I realized I haven't fixed this yet. So this hasn't been running properly for a few months, but shh, don't tell. So we can see here, this confirmation number wasn't found, which gives us a great opportunity to come through and have a look and see what's happening within here. Okay, so first off, let's have a look. We can see the table name here is inspected by for here, and the table name here is tested by. Remember those two table names. When we go to our data and we have a look at the queries and connections, you'll see we have 3. You're thinking, that's interesting. So let's go and edit the connections. Zoom this in. Okay. So we're bringing through rows first off. Okay, so we're going to hit refresh all, and you'll see it's confirmation number, this one, which is where we're getting the failure. So the issue actually relates to, it's in here, this change type. So we need to find, let's zoom in. So we need to find confirmation number here. Just need to delete that. Okay, super simple. Click away. Fine. Okay, so that solved that issue that we had. So there we are. So let's have a look at the inspected by. So the source of inspected by is rows. Okay, of course, rows, that makes sense. Okay, but so far, this isn't going to work for us. So from rows, we're going to remove everything else other than our inspected by firm. And then we're going to remove duplicates. So we're going to say we just want this single set of them. That's all we need. Okay, and you could say, yeah, we could do a group by on there. Group by, inspected firm, and row count. That might be a way to go. We could try that. But maybe if we build this from scratch again. Now, this is where it gets interesting. What's the next step? Source 2. So source 2 is our table from our Excel spreadsheet of inspected by. Wait a minute. We're building inspected by now, aren't we? This is one of those things. This did my head in for ages going through and doing this. Okay. How am I able to reference the table within the table build? Where we'll reference complete the table within the table, because we're referencing the table build that it was to now build what it will be. So we've got yesterday's copy effectively. If you think about it, got yesterday's copy, open yesterday's copy. Yeah. We're going to change the types on those to make those both text. And we're going to merge that in with the remove duplicate step. Okay. So we can see this. Might be easier if we turn this. Let's do this to, oh my goodness me, it's gone really small in here, isn't it? So let's rename remove duplicates. Can I call this? Can we do that? I don't know. Can we do merge here? So let's try that. Okay, so if we look at the merge queries here, see we're taking merge here, inspected by firm with change type. So we can change this to, can't we? We can rename this as well. It's not going to let me do it with a double click, is it? And it's going to produce this way over there again, because oh, that's great. Merge point 2. Okay, so then we can see in here, we're taking merge point 2 and merge here. We're bringing together the inspected by firms, so that the two copies that they were based before, piecing them together. All right. We're doing a left outer join type. So what we're going to end up with is everything from the first one plus the matching from the second. Okay. Which gives us, well, these are the ones that are new, effectively will be blank, and the ones that are existing will be there. And then we're going to expand the inspected by. So the true point that we've got here is what we will keep. Yeah, because our merged queries will give us here with a table. So if we look here at this one, for example, come down to the bottom, see that Rosenbach picked a great one, haven't we? Co LLC, and what we've termed it in our merge. Likewise, we can go to the American Pipe and Tank, click here, see it's American Pipe and Tank, it's American Pipe and Tank Lining Co. Inc. Why is that? It's spelled badly. It's spelled badly. Are they all like that? They will be all like that. Yeah. We need to change those. But yeah, okay. You can see we've pieced those together so we can now have that working. When we then expand that out and we keep the inspected by, what we end up with is we're discarding the inspected by firm from the inspected by table and replacing it with the inspected by firm from our New York City export. Okay? And then we're bringing in and keeping the inspected by normalized version that we've got from it. And then that's going to be written back to our spreadsheet. Okay. And we've done exactly the same with the tested by. If we step here, we can see we've got this remove duplicate step. We've got this source step bringing in from the table, the Excel table, and we're merging those two together. So we end up with ESML and we can see EMSL, and then we're keeping the tested by. So we've kept the new full list and what was previously merged. So we can now close and apply that. Okay, it will load through these. And then what we can do is we've added, or I've added, a validation, which just counts the blanks that we've got in each one. So we can see how many blanks we're going to end up with for them. Okay, so it'll load through, it'll take a while. These aren't instant. And what we would need to do is make sure that periodically we set this up to run, be ready. And we got 18 blanks in the inspections, 28 blanks, 28 blanks in the inspections, 18 in the tested by. So we can come through here. We could filter this to say, well, I just want to see the blanks, couldn't we? So we can say, well, do this. Show me the blanks. Okay. See, American pipe for these, so we got, and it brings it up in Excel because it says, well, this is what else is in the column. And this is why this solution has ended up being really easy to do. You know, is there a Gregory? We could type. I guess that would be owner. Okay, we could go and check that, couldn't we? That might be where we would send somebody to go and check. So we can see these are all going to be the same ones, aren't they? So we can do Control C and then we can go all the way down to here. Control V. We might need to check if there's that. So suddenly, we've just pieced together 28 entries in a couple of minutes. And this is why this is really awkward. So I said, right, you know, I could build a Power App to do this. We could do something, but then like we've got with this MAM, how do I check? Where would I quickly go? And to quickly check here, I simply go clear the filter. We've got this down at MAM, so I can scroll down here, MAM. Is it M&S? Is it? Doesn't seem to be anybody else. So this is potentially where we might have a new, or is it MJM? It can be MJM probably, isn't it? MJM. Okay. So we can do that. We could have checked. We could have, you know, literally, if this was real world, it might be a case of picking up the phone, say, hi, Stephen accounts, whoever it was, Janine. Who did you mean? Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. We can check that. You know, have we got a copy of the original handwritten document? We could check. Okay, worst case, we'll have to call the person. Who did you meet? But we could piece that together. This isn't terrible. 28, done. And that was the first time I've looked at this in over a year. And there's 28 and 18. It's not a huge piece of work that we're going to expect our staff to manage and maintain. And as I say, you've just seen quite literally why this Excel spreadsheet just seems to be a tool that works. And it's really annoying because it's a tool that works, because it means that it makes it really difficult to turn around and say, oh, we need to replace this. As I say, we come back, look at blanks. We can see the blanks. See ALS. Oh, let me zoom out of here a bit more. This is really cancel. No. There we go. I'm sure there was an ALS. Not an ALS. Have I done something stupid? No. Yeah, so we've got Atlas. There's got to be something else. Clarity Water Technologies. Technologies. There's got to be Metro Group. And then, as I say, it's quick, it's easy. We can have a look. Yeah, Metro Group Inc. So yeah, it is there. That might just be the one I've just added. They probably combined, haven't they? That's environment. Okay, so you can see we piece together quickly, easily, put it together. This one I don't know. But we could piece it, we could understand. This could then be used, couldn't it, to understand how do we grade these places, who's doing the most, who's doing these. We can spot check and put on, where's this lab done? All of this stuff can be done now, quickly and easily. And this normalization, this is kind of so common that we see in ERP systems where you enter the customer information and people just enter a duplicate customer and they've got then multiple customer numbers that actually relate to the same customer. And there's no way of checking it from the number. You have to check it from the name, and that has to be then normalized and rationalized together so that we know that customer number 1234 is and 1276 and 12832 are the same customer. There's no way of doing it. This is the sort of thing you're having to do. This is the sort of thing that customers, time and again, have a spreadsheet that maintains that lookup for it. This way, we'd have that lookup built. We'd then be able to look up the customer from this side of things to then say this matches up to this customer, which we would then have a customer ID for that. And we could then replicate and push that through into the data set. That's the sort of thing that we do. So this works very well. And this is why this spreadsheet is the king of doing this. I haven't been able to better it as yet. Okay, wish I could. If you have any ideas, let me know down below what you think we could maybe put together that would be just as quick and easy to use as that. Because I think even a Power App on its best day, which we could write with the best table entity style, so it looks like an Excel spreadsheet like this, so you can just go tick, 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 tick. The lookup back through what's existing there isn't going to be as punchy as it is within Excel and an Excel table. That's the headache that I have with this. What do you think? We'll go through, we'll rebuild the whole thing and we'll publish it up, all this Dataflow and spreadsheet, and we'll put it into our deployment pipeline so we can see how does this look next week. And that's going to be the big headache that we go through and do it. But this trick with Excel spreadsheets, this is something that people don't know you can even do, right? And then we've got this thing, we've got the spreadsheet. The amount of times we've got a spreadsheet where we do it. What do you do? This is exactly the thing they do. It works, and it is so annoying how easy it is to make it work and how well it works, because it then makes it really difficult to say, right, we need to step away from it. But this is one of those things. Okay, time and again, you'll be told, or we hear, or I hear, oh, Excel's terrible, you shouldn't use Excel. This is Excel doing far better than anything I think of. And realistically, set up for this, what, it was 30 lines, if that, in Power Query to build it. That's not a case of saying, well, that's a case of saying, we've got something that works really well. The steps to build it are a bit awkward because you have to go through, you bring through that first column first and you save that as a table, give the table a name, then you bring that back through and reference it back in because you have to start with the table, or you can copy the raw text and build it as a first stop. But once that's done, you've got something that you can use time and again. Every day, every week, you go through, run the refresh, go through and update it. We could put a rule on it to say it has to be updated every week. If it's not been updated in the last 3 weeks, notify somebody. If it's not been updated in 6 weeks, notify their manager. You know, we can do these things with Power Automate. That's not difficult to do. So we can make this work, and cost-wise for that, free, isn't it? Versus, I'm going to build an app, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. There's cost being added to it. There's complexity being added to it. Who's going to manage it? Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to support it? And this is we have to understand. We have to recognize each step of our analytical journey. We have to be considerate of who will support this long term. If tomorrow I leave the organization, is somebody else on staff going to be able to manage what I have built and what I've written for it? For a lookup like this, if you need a consultancy to come in and have a look and tweak it for you because something's changed tomorrow, that's a huge weight around your neck, because any changes that you make will cause problems. You just saw we had to update the confirmation number, right, which is something that's been removed from the primary data set. Now, I could turn around and say, oh, there's a problem. You know, or we could say, well, it's quick and easy. We go through, we remove it from here, we can follow through. Is it used in the reports? It isn't actually. So we start to piece together, we start to understand why we have to take steps to protect our organization at each and every step of the way that we go in our analytical journey. Yeah? Excellent. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you'll come back next week and we're actually going to go through and we'll do this build next week. Build the whole data flow again. I don't think we need to revisit the spreadsheet, but I thought it was important to see the spreadsheet before we did the Excel build again. But you kind of understand the Excel build, so you'll be able to tell me, we go through it from scratch, what I should be doing, won't you? Yeah? Think you can. All right. For now, though, stay safe, take care. Ta-da.